That dash is your life story. Literally, that dash, right? The day you start to the day you end. That's your life story. What is it going to be about? That's another big thing that I ask people is, what are they going to say at your funeral? What would you like them to say at your funeral? If you can't think of it now, what do you think they're going to come up with? Right? So, and does that call you to do anything? Does that make you want to change something? Does that make you want to do something different? Something more, something extra? Because, I want I want that quote on my tombstone, and I want people to say how I inspired them to do something. I don't care what it was. I hope it's a very, very, very long time, but I hope there is a very long line of people that want to pay homage to somebody who helped change something in their life. And that would be an extraordinary funeral to me.
Everyone, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter. Happy to have everyone together for another great author on the show. And what's exciting today is we are going to floor you with an extraordinary guest on this podcast. And that'll all make sense as we kind of go through this today. But we're really going to lay a great foundation, nice level surface for all of you authors with my guest today. Jacob's here on the podcast. And as soon as you meet him, you're going to fall in love with him. He's a great guy. And I'm here to celebrate his book and his journey as an author. But Jacob, welcome to the podcast. Can you introduce yourself to everybody?
Look at you laying it all out for me. Boom, boom. One more, right? One more.
I love it. I love it. Awesome. Tell everybody where you're from, Jacob.
New Orleans, Louisiana.
Now, I don't think that as a Canadian I have an accent. You can probably disagree with that. But I just love when I talk to somebody from New Orleans. It just feels like such a, I don't know, something about that drawl, that sound when you talk makes me so happy. There's something special about that. Can you explain to me, where this comes from, this beautiful accent? What is it? What makes up this beautiful sound I'm hearing today? Come on.
I mean, it's so weird to us because we don't feel like we have one. And you, for a Canadian, don't sound like a Canadian to me.
Okay, good.
You don't. I would not pick that out of, unless I knew where you were at, unless I saw that Canadian flag in your background. Yeah. I wouldn't pick it. Okay. So there's plenty of very heavy Canadian accents, and you don't have one.
Okay, all right. Okay,
But the New Orleans side of it, man, we're a gumbo pot. We're a big melting pot. We got a big Cajun French kind of culture, right? So that's where a lot of it comes in. And I've born and raised, a stone's throw out of the New Orleans city limits. So born and raised right there in New Orleans. And we just have a big gumbo pot of a melting pot of cultures here. And, until I talk to somebody who's not from here, I don't think I have an accent. But as soon as I do talk to somebody, where you from? Where you from? So yeah, I love it. I love it. Anytime I've ever traveled, I've always gotten that, oh, where are you from? Oh, I love that accent.
So nice. There's a rhythm. There's it's kind of romantic a little bit in your voice when you talk. It's just there's this pattern and this rhythm to it that just makes me want to lean in. I love it. I just love it. So.
Me too. Blessed to be born and raised here. I love it. Hell of a culture down here. It's a hell of a city with a lot of history in it, and proud to be born and raised here. And although it's every city has its challenges, and every area has its challenges, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love it.
Now let's promote your business a little bit, because I kind of alluded to that at the beginning about flooring and being extraordinary and all that great stuff. On top of being an author, you do have something big that you do day to day as well. I'd love to shout out your company as well. Can we do that at the beginning?
Yeah. So my primary portfolio, the thing that gets me up every morning and pays the bills and how I provide for my family and the families of my team are is Extraordinary Flooring. And I've been the owner of Extraordinary Flooring for over 20 years now.
Hmm.
We are decorative concrete, epoxy coating, and polished concrete specialists. So we're a bit of a specialty trade where we don't just do the traditional flooring of tile, wood, marble, that kind of deal. We do polished concrete, epoxy coatings, and we're predominantly in the commercial space.
Okay. So you got a big team. You got to do some big projects.
Yeah, we got a team of 20,
Wow.
so we can knock out the biggest project you throw at us, or we can do a bunch of smaller ones. So we're not quite huge,
Yeah.
but we're definitely not small, right? And so that keeps us pretty nimble. It still keeps us with the ability to team up and conquer something really large, or split up and do a bunch of smaller things.
So now, how does becoming an author fit into all of this? I can imagine this is something that's pretty consuming to have a team of 20 and be doing all these big projects. And I can see the whiteboard behind you is just packed with stuff. So where do you fit writing a book into all of this?
Well, the beauty of the whole deal is, I was coming up on basically my 40th birthday, and I just had a calling to write a book. And I call it the man upstairs. He's just telling me, like, Jake, you got to write a book. And I had a couple ideas for it, a couple different things, and finally stumbled upon it. And what started as The Extraordinary Process, which I believe will be my next book. I told myself, I said, Jake, you're still trying to figure out this extraordinary process thing yourself, right? So kind of hard to write a whole book on something that you're still creating, you're still defining. But I knew I had the knowledge to share. I knew I wanted to share my knowledge that I had thus far. And so I came up with Make It Extraordinary. 27 life-changing lessons to help you elevate beyond the ordinary. And how it came about, that is the 27, people ask me, so how'd you come up with 27? I said, well, that's what stood out to me in life-changing lessons. I didn't have a number that I was going to start and finish at. I just started digging deep into my brain. Like, what were all of the things that changed my life? What were the things that made me pivot and move and get to the direction and where I'm at today, right? So I took all of the biggest life lessons that I've learned, put them in chronological order, kind of from start to finish. So I've got, a plethora of just early childhood and teenage lessons that you'll learn that so many people can relate upon. And then as I got into my early 20s and later, all of my entrepreneurial lessons, right? The easy ones, the hard ones, and the expensive ones, I call it. And, how'd I find the time to do it? I actually took a 2-week vacation to Brazil. We go every couple of years. My wife's from Brazil, so we go to Brazil every couple of years. And this is where I'll have the most downtime. And I told myself, I said, all right, you got 2 weeks. Get this thing done, at least in a rough draft form, right? Get this story down. It's your story. Get it down, start to finish. When you come back, you'll be able to start editing and things of that nature. So that's what allowed me to really just focus and get it down and get it done. So the majority of it was done on that 2-week vacation.
So it's all about the change you want to see in life and the change of experience. But in the process of writing it, what changed for you just in the act of writing the book?
In the act of writing the book, it was such a cool experience to me. I actually, I have a physical trainer that has a pretty big following in a podcast. And right before I went on the vacation, I was listening to one of his podcasts, and a guy by the name of Jake Kelfer came on. And the funny part about this is, it was an old podcast that I was listening to. So it was a podcast that was recorded a couple years ago. And he was talking about his first or second book. And I was like, and I had already in my mind that I knew I was literally about to leave for this vacation. And I knew I was reading it. So I said, well, let me check this guy out, So I checked his profiles and stuff and looked up, and this is 2 years past when he recorded this podcast, and he had moved on to helping authors write their book. Right. And I was like, wow, kind of kismet kind of situation here.
Yeah.
And so I just direct messaged him and said, hey, I'm Jacob Lawson. I'm about to leave on a vacation, but I'm writing a book. And when I come back, I'll have one finished and let's talk. And, and sure enough, we did. And so connected back with him after I got back, had the rough draft done. And I knew the rough draft was the easy part for me because that was my story. So these were my lessons. I knew that was the easy part. I got that down. But I also knew, just as you preluded to earlier, once I got back to my daily grind and running my business and the ebb and flow of how much I have to roll every single day to keep the wheels rolling, I knew I needed help to finish it. Right. I knew I did. And so, boom, I reached out to Jake's team. His team is Big Idea, the bestseller. Shout him out and connected with them. And that's where the cool stuff really started happening. Kind of got with a writing coach, and we started going over the premise and started defining kind of the lessons and the titles and the chapters. And whereas kind of somewhat started off as, quote unquote, a story about me, I was able to then transform it to something that's helpful to others. I was able to really start transforming it and start getting these aha moments like, oh man, this is really going to help people. This is really going to, kind of give some people some extra guidance and hopefully get them to skip a few levels that I had to learn the hard way, by putting some of these things out, especially people with, this entrepreneurial mindset and people that are just trying to achieve more in their life. They're just not happy where they're at. And when that stuff started coming together, I mean, literally, I tell them it was kind of a funny moment where I was on a video call with the writing coach and I started tearing up and I started crying and here I am, this 6'3", guy who does MMA and all kind of things, and I'm sitting here bawling, crying, and she's like, and she knows why. She's like, why are you crying? I'm like, well, because this is turning into something special. This is turning into something that's really going to help people. And it was a very, emotional realization for me that this is becoming more than just a story. This is becoming part of, kind of my legacy of trying to help others elevate beyond the ordinary. And that was just a super, super cool experience.
So where does that desire to help people come from then? Like, why is this so important to you?
I feel it's a calling. I feel it's a calling. I've always been a pretty good leader. I've always been somebody that's very encouraging. Like if whenever it was in sports and, all the way back to T-ball and wrestling and MMA and all of these things, I've always been that boisterous leader, like trying to encourage people, right? I'm like, come on, let's go dig deep. I've always been that person just completely naturally. And none of this stuff really even started setting in until kind of as of late, and I start reflecting back on this stuff. And so that part of leadership has always been natural for me. Like that, nobody taught me that. Nobody, it was just in me, from T-ball. I'm the guy yelling out, plays on first, get the runner at second, that kind of thing was just natural to me. And, high school wrestling, I became a team captain my second year, which is normally like something alluded for seniors and stuff. And it was just, just a passion inside of me to help people elevate with what I know and they know they have inside of them that maybe not coming out. Right. So that's something that's always been natural, but I didn't start realizing this as I start getting older, that is part of me. And that's, and as a leader of my teams, trying to encourage, the team under me that, hey, here's the path that I've done, and this is how I got here. And this is my blueprint, take what you will from it, but this is how we can do this. And this is how we can elevate, and so from, sports to then my team. And then now this is my legacy calling. This is what my life's going to be about. I had that same personal trainer of mine, we were in a kind of men's meeting, kind of mastermind type meeting, and he asked the group of men, like, what's going to be on your tombstone when you die? And everybody sat there and was reflecting. I'm sitting here and reflecting, and as they go around the room, different people, it's like, oh, I was the best father, I was the best brother, husband, leader, I was the best this, I was the best that. And came to me, and I'd never thought about it before in my life, but it came to me like a light bulb. And he was a conduit for personal elevation. And so I don't have a tattoo on my body, but it's something that may make it there one day, right? Yeah. And if it's on my tombstone, that'd make me proud that I was known for helping people dig deep, find something extraordinary inside of them, and elevate.
So do you think you have a new lens on life now because of the book and the process of writing and what's on paper now? Do you think you see the world differently?
Without a doubt, I see a bigger vision for myself now. Yeah. Extraordinary flooring is still my main priority. Yeah. I still have many, many heights to take that to, and much growth to go with that. But I know that I'm put here to do more than just floors. And I know that I'm put here to inspire more people that's just in my little small, circle of this world, and this is kind of just part of knowing that, in this beautiful world that we live in, this cool technology that we all live in, you used to be able to, reach out to your neighborhood or your city or your this or that, but now it's the worldwide, like I've got different people in different countries that have my book, that have read my book and received my book and reviewed my book. I've got different people in different countries daily watching me on these different social platforms, and that are hitting me back, direct messaging, like, man, you have such an inspiring story. Man, you are inspiring me. You have motivated me to do this. You have motivated me to do that. And to know that this can be in the smallest corner of the most unknown country in the world, and you can have that kind of a reach. And to me, it's such an incredible feeling. And I can't wait to continue to see how this, what I call my extraordinary movement, grows to.
One thing I love too, Jacob, you talk about your passion and your pride for your team that work with you every day out there doing all these big projects for your flooring company. You already have your own built-in community with that team of 20. You have these people who rely on you for work and employment and taking care of their families, but they look to you as a leader within your own company. And you have your own little community to pour your life into beyond a paycheck, beyond purpose and a career. You have the chance to have influence over a team and be there for them in a very unique way. I think they would really look to you as a leader, as somebody who could help them on their journey of life beyond a career. Just you as a person being that for them.
And now that you say that, I just kind of got hit with a different perspective of I owe as much of this recent transformation of myself to them as they do me. Because part of the whole reason why all of this stuff started, let's just say I had, I was blessed with these natural leadership abilities. I was blessed with a great work ethic, and I just really worked hard to get where I'm at. But when all of this stuff really started changing a few years ago, it started with me knowing that I needed to become a better leader for that team. And that's where all of this evolution started. That's when I knew that I needed to become a better leader. And it started with the knowledge, the business acumen that I knew I needed to gain in order to take us to the next levels. And then it also changed then once I started getting this business acumen. Another huge part, what I call one of my 4 pillars, is although things were going great for me business-wise, and obviously always striving for more, but they were going great for me business-wise, and I was learning the business acumen to become a better leader and a better business mind. But at the same time, I had so many balls juggling in the air, I stopped taking care of myself. And that's always been a very important part of me, is working out and conditioning. And the caveat to that was living in New Orleans and eating and partying right after you go and work out, right? So that was always a caveat that would kind of sabotage some of those or a lot of those workout efforts. But that second, after I started tying in the business acumen, I also looked at myself and knew that, I have to also elevate myself physically in order to become that person that is all around, like, okay, he's good at this, he's good at that, but look how he's doing that. He works out, but he's going and partying and drinking on the weekends, or he's doing this and he's doing that. And I knew that was a piece of the puzzle that was missing in me being the leader that I wanted to be.
Right. Yeah. So as the book goes out into the world, what are you most proud of from the book when the reader gets their copy? They're going to hold it in their hands for the first time. What are you most proud about the book being out there now for the people to grab a copy?
I love the most about is that everybody has a different favorite chapter. Everybody has a different, because it's to me, I think most of the favorite chapters are either it's super relatable to something that they went through, and it's something that they can relate to, like, oh, I had a very similar experience and this is what happened. Or it's like, I've wanted to do what you wrote in that chapter for so long, and you're giving me the inspiration to do it. Those are the two coolest things that I get, because I've never got the same feedback from anybody about any portion of the book. Everybody that gives me that feedback gives me something different from it. And to me, that's the coolest part, because that's what I love about this book, is that it is super relatable. You don't have to be an entrepreneur to like the book. You don't have to be, a man in your 40s to like the book. You can be kind of almost anybody, but the whole premise is, do you want more? Are you inspired to do more? Like, do you have that drive that is inside of you calling that I know I want to do more and I know I'm not doing it. What can I do to change that? And when I get that feedback, it gives me goosebumps. It puts tears in my eyes, and it just knows that that's why I was called to write this. That's why I was called to do these things that I'm doing. And that's why I know I'm on the right path of making this movement. And I know that I have already changed some lives, and I'm going to continue to change many more. And that is such a cool thing for me. And, I'm damn near tearing up now.
I can see it on your face while you're talking, Jacob. We all live kind of in this ordinary, routine world where we never really rise up and do anything great. We never really do anything terrible. We're just kind of in this zone of, I go to work, I come home, I go to work, I come home. We just live this ordinary life, right? There's nothing really wrong with an ordinary life, but it's not extraordinary. So can you define for me the difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary life? What is the thing that makes a difference to take you from being ordinary to extraordinary?
So I have a different perspective than I believe a lot of people. And part of my whole goal is to break down this word extraordinary a little bit more. And it is broken down extraordinary. So essentially, if you want it in the simplest terms, it is just doing extra on top of that ordinary life. And I feel that so many people believe that the full word extraordinary is just for like the rich and famous, like, oh, that's not me. I'm just an ordinary guy. There's nothing extraordinary about me. And I beg to differ. I believe everybody has something extraordinary inside of them. And it doesn't have to be these huge accolades. It doesn't have to be rich. It doesn't have to be famous. It doesn't have to be expensive. I believe that there are extraordinary, I know there are extraordinary teachers out there. Mm-hmm. There are extraordinary coaches out there. There is extraordinary entrepreneurs, there's extraordinary secretaries, there's extraordinary garbage men. Mm-hmm. You know, who would ever think of that, right? I've seen garbage men that can look like they can do it with their eyes closed, and they're throwing the garbage can in there and not even looking, and almost like a Magic Johnson behind the back pass and grabbing the next one, right? So it's doing the extra on top of the ordinary. It's putting in that extra effort. So many people, yes, they live these ordinary lives, and they may only have to do this much to keep their job or their boss happy or whatever there is, right? But what would happen if you put forth that extra effort? What could that change? And whether that's in your work or your home life or your hobbies, right? There's so many different perspectives. And that's why I feel that everybody has something extraordinary inside of them. And it's living inside of you. Do you have a calling to bring it out? You know, is something that we're saying here triggering, like, I know what he's talking about. I know I can do more here. I know I can change this. I know I can be a better listener. Maybe I can be a better speaker. Maybe I can be a better husband, a better father. I can do this extra. I can be a better coach to this person, right? It's just putting that extra in front of something that could be as ordinary as anything that we do in our day-to-day lives.
So was writing the book an example of one of your extras then?
I would say so, because one of the other things that you constantly get, I've never heard so many people tell me I've always wanted to write a book until you write a book.
Yeah.
You know, when you write a book, you find out how many quote unquote ordinary people are dreaming of writing a book and have dreamed and have thought so much, and most of them never put that pen to the paper, but they have the want. And as soon as I wrote the book, I've never heard so many people tell me how much they want to write a book. And so the fact that I did it, right? Like, I didn't write this book to sell millions of copies. Like, if I did, great, I'd be happier than, you know, anything out there, right? But I did not do this. Honestly, I haven't even looked at how much I've been paid through Amazon, right? Like, this book here is something I was called from my heart to do. And I knew I was going to do it. I knew it was going to change some lives, whether it be 2, 20, 200, 2,000, 2 million. Doesn't matter. And I also know that it is a key to open a door that I don't know that I'm going to walk through yet, or many doors. Yeah. And so that's the premise for this book. And I still don't know what doors it's going to open, but I know it's going to open something special.
So there's one person that we can't see right now that's listening to our conversation, Jacob, and they've pressed play on this episode for a reason. Just like you talked about pressing play on that podcast before you went on your holiday. There's somebody pressing play on this maybe even 2 years from now, and they feel like a whole bunch of ordinary. And they're hearing you talk, and they're like, oh, I wish I could do what you do. I don't feel like I have what you have. Like, you're an author, I'm not. I'd love to be, but I'm not. And I don't really feel like I have what it takes to do what you did. Can you just talk to that person who's listening? Jacob, they're like listening to us right now. And if you could have them with you in your office right now with the whiteboard behind you and a busy day and on the coffee percolating behind you, they could sit down with you and have a few moments of your time. What would you say to somebody listening to this right now who feels super ordinary? They have dreams, but they just don't know how to connect their dreams to their ordinary life. The book's going to help. But if I could have time with you one-on-one, what would you say directly to that person who's listening to us right now?
Well, I wasn't an author either until I did it. And I'm nothing special, especially by the means of being an author or this. I was a C student at best. I went to high school to wrestle. I didn't go to high school to do anything else. I kept just grades enough just to keep my ass on the wrestling team.
Yeah.
And today's technology, it's too easy. There's no excuse not to get it done. Okay. Is it going to be perfect? Can you hire a team to help you get it done? Maybe, maybe not. But can you speak into a phone and it writes down? Can you speak into a writing app these days? They've got all of these writing apps that will help you proofread. They will help you do things. They will help you when you get stuck. It's too easy. If you have a calling for it, do it. Because just like I did, you don't know what door is going to open for you. And it isn't necessarily about book sales. It isn't necessarily about making money. It's you have a feeling, you have a calling, you have a desire to do it. You just got to get past the roadblock and get it done and get it started. And, dedicate something. Say, well, you know what? Commit. It's one of the biggest lessons of my life that so many people, they fall short on the things that they want in life because they're scared to commit. So many people have that would be nice, or it would be nice if, or because, or it would be easier if I didn't have this going on, if I wasn't a mom with 3 kids, and if I didn't have soccer practice and 3 jobs and this, and ifs and ifs and ifs. But if you commit, you can do anything. So many people are scared to commit to the things that they really want because they have so many obstacles in the way. And whether they're really big obstacles or they're just making mountains out of molehills, right?
Yeah. If we jump back to your mention of the tombstone for a second, when I look at a tombstone, somebody told me this a while ago and it really stuck with me. You see the date of birth and you see the date when we leave this world. There's this one little thing in between. There's a little dash. And that little dash represents everything that we do in this world. It's very insignificant, that little dash, right? It's so small on the tombstone. But that little dash encompasses every lesson, everything we're going to experience, every person we get to meet, the fact that I get to meet you. That little dash represents so much. And how can we make the most out of that little dash between the date of birth and the date we leave here? I think that should be our focus, is making every inch of that dash count.
That dash is your life story.
Right.
Literally, that dash, right? The day you start to the day you end. That's your life story. What is it going to be about? That's another big thing that I ask people is, what are they going to say at your funeral?
Yeah.
What would you like them to say at your funeral? If you can't think of it now, what do you think they're going to come up with?
Yeah.
Right? So, and does that call you to do anything? Does that make you want to change something? Does that make you want to do something different, something more, something extra? Because, I want that quote on my tombstone, and I want people to say how I inspired them to do something. I don't care what it was.
Yeah.
I hope it's a very, very, very long time, but I hope there is a very long line of people that want to pay homage to somebody who helped change something in their life. And that would be an extraordinary funeral to me.
I love it, Jacob. It's great. It's all about legacy. It's all about why are we here on this planet? Why do we have this community? Why do we have a team of 20 that work with you? Why are you in this place? Why are you with your family, with your partner? Why are all these things happening for you? And why are you here in this moment? And what can we do? And kind of reverse engineer that. Whatever the result you want in life, work your way backwards to how you can make it happen, right? And that's what I love about your book. Can you give us, from whatever comes to mind in the moment, one of the 27 that's kind of an overview, kind of an idea of what we're going to get in the book? Can you share one with us that we can kind of wrap up today, Jacob?
Sure, sure. One of the big ones that I think can be a universal lesson for anybody in life, no matter what part of your journey you're in. It didn't happen to you, it happened for you. And this is a kind of short lesson of how I got fired one day for kind of screwing around on a job site. And it's one of those firings where the boss is really like, get out of my sight right now. I can't believe you ain't getting nothing done. But I could have gotten my job right back the very next day. I was a hard worker and usually I got a lot of work done. But that day I was just kind of screwing around with some coworkers. And and I went home and I laid in my bed and my mom kicks the door open, almost like she knew what happened. She's like, what you doing laying in bed right now? You're supposed to be at work. And I said, oh, Glenn fired me today. And she's like, so what you doing sitting in bed? I'm like, what you want me to do? I got fired. It's like, get your ass out of bed. Don't come home till you got another job. And so she said, go over here, go to Peters Road. This is kind of like an industrial park. This big oil field city down here, big oil field town. I said, don't come back until you got a job. And I didn't. I went out and I got a job, and I got a job in the oil field, which took me into a completely different career. It's led me to different parts of the world. I worked in Africa. I traveled in Spain, Switzerland, Amsterdam. I got to see all of these things. And I'm 21 years old, and I got to do all of these things. And it changed and propelled my life into different things. And whereas I was just doing like a residential home building type thing that maybe would have never taken to me where I am today. Mm. And you can take so many life lessons from that. There's so many other life-changing lessons that I've had that you learn the hard way. You feel like, why is this happening to me? How am I going to get out of this situation? Like, why me? Why me? It's like, there's a lesson behind that hurt. There's a lesson behind that pain. You have to figure out what that is. And it could be the change that you needed to jump kick your life into a whole nother direction.
I love it. Jacob, I love that you're on this path now as an author and you have more things to write about in the future, which is great. Would love to have you come back in the future and give us updates on new projects and things, because I know my audience would love to hear more from you. In addition to buying this book, to be there and support you in community as you continue to write. So keep us in mind. I'd love to have you come back.
Definitely. This is a good time. I love it. And man, if I can inspire somebody else to put their story on paper and do what they feel like they're here for a reason, right? They're here because something is calling them, whether they are an author and have done something, whether they're kicking around something, or whether they're just like, oh, I wish I could, or I wish I would, right? It's just that switch that says not if,
yeah,
when, and I will. I'm committed, right? Commit to whatever's calling you. Something is calling you. Something's calling everybody in some way, shape, or form. There's always something that you can do to improve yourself, your situation, your family. There's always something that any and every single person on this earth can do that can help change their life and the lives around them. And a lot of it is just making that commitment. Don't be scared to commit, because a lot of people are scared to commit for fear of failure or because they've let themselves down in the past. It's just a stumbling stone. It's just this little stumbling block of life, and that's part of life. Everybody's going to trip, fall, fumble, fall down, fall on your face, fall on your ass. Doesn't matter. Like, get up, dust off, go at it again. Just be committed, and you'll get there.
I think we all need to get fired from our ordinary. What do you think of that?
There's
right.
Nothing wrong with it, but everybody has something extra to give.
Right.
And if you don't give it, you are wasting your God-given potential.
Right. It's amazing. Jacob, tell us where we can connect with you, where we can find out more about your journey as an author. Where do you want to send us, where we can reach out to you? I know there's people listening to this today. They're like, I got to talk to Jacob.
So the main Instagram handle is make_it_extraordinary.
Okay.
If you type in "make it extraordinary," that is the movement. Makeitextraordinary.co is the website. Jacob Lawson, you can dig that up too. I've got different socials in there, but the main social is make_it_extraordinary. I put out many motivational videos, but I also put out a daily morning motivational video. It's never scripted. I never pre-plan it, never pre-think it. The man upstairs gives me something to talk about every single morning, and it's a life lesson that normally coagulates with something I'm listening to in the morning, whether it be a book, music, my motivational music, whatever it is. But I put that out every single morning. The book, Make It Extraordinary.
It's right there.
27 life-changing lessons to help you elevate beyond the ordinary is on Amazon. Please pick it up. Please review it. Give it a thought. Give it a read. It's a quick, easy read. It's a couple hour. I call it a plane ride read. Very simple, short stories. So it keeps you entertained, keeps you, connected to it. You can knock it out in a couple hours, and hopefully it inspires you to do something. And I would love for the feeling that you say, you know what? I've got to give it to this person because I know this person needs it. They're calling for it. They see it. It's connected. It's I'd love for that feeling, right? And that's what I hope. And I just hope it gets in the right hands at the right times. I call it God's divine time. You may have a plan. You may have a date. You may have all of this thing where you think it's got to happen this time and that time. But I believe it's going to all happen in God's divine time as long as you are committed to it and working towards whatever you're after.
Jacob Lawson, you have a great heart. You have a great story to tell. You have a great platform now because the book is out. And I'm watching with great anticipation as your message goes out into the world. Just like you listened to that voice before you went on holidays, and you heard from that voice on a podcast that inspired you to do this and write this book. There's people listening to you today also now inspired to do whatever is extraordinary in their life because of you being here sharing today. So thank you for making time to do this, Jacob.
Just gave me goosebumps again, Dave. Thank you. Thank you, man.
Awesome. Everyone go and check out all the links in the show notes. Support Jacob. As he mentioned, leave it a detailed, amazing review of the book when you buy it online so that more people fall in love with it and find out this book is for them as well. You can help Jacob sell more books and reach more people just by leaving a great review. So that's my request of you as you purchase his book and support him in his journey as an author. And again, Jacob, like I said, as you continue to write, please keep us in mind. I'd love to hear from you again.
Definitely, Dave. I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me share your platform. And I hope we've inspired some people to bring out the extra in the ordinary today.
There you go. You floored us all. Thank you so much.
All right, Dave. Have a good one.
Hey, thanks for being here for the Living the Next Chapter podcast. So glad to have you as part of our family of listeners. There's a seat for you just here on Living the Next Chapter, and I'm so happy that you have listened to all the way to the end. Wow, you are now my new bestie. I want to let you know that I host 7 other podcasts on top of Living the Next Chapter. Yep, 8 total. One of them is called the How To Podcast series. If you are thinking, you know what, Dave, this podcast thing seems like a lot of fun, well, I'll give you a secret. It is. It's a great, amazing, fun time where you can get to meet great people, get your word out there, promote your book, promote what your coaching program, whatever you're doing. Podcasting is great. And if you want to learn how to do this, what you're hearing right now, head over to howtopodcast.ca and look up the How to Podcast series on YouTube, whatever app you're listening on. You'll find me there. And I'd love for you to come listen to how to do this. And if you're interested and have questions on how to podcast, reach out to me at howtopodcast.ca. Thank you for listening. Talk soon.